Making your own movie can be hard and expensive. I'm here to tell you that it can be done even if you have little to no money or experience. We all hear about the extravagant cost of movies today, with most big blockbusters dealing in billions of dollars, to the point where the amount they spend on napkins and cutlery at lunch would be enough to live on for a year. When you're just getting started, quite often most of us start with absolutely nothing. No experience, no skills, no network, and most important, we start with no money. How can you actually make your first movie when you don't have any of these resources? Today, I'll walk you through some tips and tricks on how I get through each stage of production with either little or no money. I understand that a lot of you will be watching this from different parts of the world, so I'll do my best to include options regardless of location, although naturally some of the tips I mentioned might relate to some locations over others. If you're watching this video, then chances are you're fairly new to the game, so let's start at the beginning. Development should be one of the easiest parts to do with no money. Most of this section just requires coming up with an idea and then writing it down. When coming up with your idea, you just need to be careful and smart and make sure that your idea can be accomplished with the resources that you have available. Don't write that your main character drives a Lamborghini unless you actually have access to one. If this is your first film, then I'd suggest keeping the concept fairly simple. For example, my very first short film involved just one character as he searches a barren wasteland for water. This film did cost a little bit of money, but that is because I had money available. I also made a plan of how I would make this movie if I didn't have any money, which I recommend you do. This way, you can attempt to raise money for your project and have a plan in case you're actually successful. If you don't succeed at raising the funds, it isn't actually going to stop you from moving forward with your film. It just means that you'll need to make a few changes to make it happen with no money. Brainstorming is a great way to start. Write out every idea that you have in your head and look at the ones that you are naturally drawn to. Then imagine how you would acquire all the necessary resources. The next part of development is writing your script. There are a lot of ways that you can do this. In the beginning, before I had any script writing software, I used Microsoft Word. It wasn't perfect, but it let me start writing, which allowed me to start learning much sooner than if I had waited to have the right software. If you don't even have a computer, then just use paper. Before I used Word, I had a few notebooks where I wrote out all of my scripts by hand. I'm glad I don't need to do this anymore, as I find writing on a computer to be much more efficient and you waste a lot less paper. But if you do have access to a computer and access to the internet, then I recommend using Celtx. This allows me to access my scripts quickly and easily, no matter which device I'm using. It also makes it a lot easier to share it with others, especially if you're collaborating with another writer. At the time of writing this, Celtx does have a free version, which then, if you like the software and you have a bit of money, you can upgrade to get access to more features. But to get started, I think the free version is pretty great. If I'm writing a short film, then depending on the length of that film, I'd say my average would be maybe 1 to 2 months. This includes the rough draft and the rewrites. If I'm writing a feature film or a series, then I might give myself anywhere from 6 months to maybe 1 to 2 years, depending on how busy my life is during that time and also depending on how complex the story is. This is just me though, so you might be faster or slower, I don't know. I just want to give you a rough idea so you can have something to compare against. If I have a script that's only 1 page, then I'd be surprised if it took me more than a couple of days to finish the rough draft. I'm not going to teach you how to write a script in this video though. Subscribe to the channel because that will give you access to all of our content where we'll teach you everything that you need to know. Now that you have a script, you're going to break it down and make a list of everything that you're going to need. I like to print mine out and get a few different colors of highlighters, and then firstly I'll make a note of how many scenes there are in the film. Then I'll look at how many different locations are in the film. Maybe you have 10 scenes in the whole film, but 5 of those scenes all happen at a bus stop. The other 5 scenes are all at separate locations. I would have 10 scenes, but I would only have 6 locations, assuming they are all the same bus stop in the story. Then I would grab a highlighter and go through and highlight all of the characters. I'd most likely do this for the first time we see or hear them in the whole story. Sometimes I'll go through the whole thing and highlight the first time we see or hear them in each scene. That way, I'm less likely to make a mistake when I'm scheduling actors in for shoot days. It causes problem when you're shooting a scene, but you realize that not all the actors are there. This is the same for the main cast, but also the background cast. Although, if you have enough highlighter colors, you could maybe separate the the core cast and the background cast into different colors to make it easier to differentiate. Then you're going to go back through and you're going to highlight all of the mentioned props. Everything that you can find that is mentioned in the script, you know, a hat, a cup, whatever it is. If it's in the script, it's probably an important item and you should have it highlighted to make sure that you definitely have it on set. Then, at a later date, you will go through it again and make a list of all the props you will need that are not mentioned in the script. If you have a scene that's set in a kitchen, then you might want to make sure that there are related items in the room so it feels like a real kitchen. Or a particular type of kitchen that suits the story you're trying to tell. You'll do this for set design, you'll do it for special costumes, you'll do it for special effects, vehicles, animals, etc. Now that you have a series of lists of everything you need to find for your film, and hopefully if you've chosen an achievable idea, the things on the list shouldn't be too hard to find. You have an idea, you have a script, and you have a list of everything that you need. Now let's talk about the behind the scenes equipment that you'll need to accomplish this. First up, the main thing that most people think about is a camera. If you have access to a professional cinema camera, great. But chances are you don't have a cinema camera and probably don't own a camera at all. You can probably guess what I'm going to recommend. And yes, of course, you can use a phone. Phones are everywhere. If you don't own a phone, you likely know someone else that owns a phone. While phone companies are continually trying to bridge the gap between phones and professional cameras, there's still quite a large gap. But if you have nothing else, then having access to a phone can be an incredible tool. And if you understand a few basics of lighting and composition, then that phone camera can go a long way. If it were me, I would at least try to not do the film entirely handheld, find some kind of stabilizer or a tripod or a light stand, etc. Essentially, the phone camera is great for civilians because of all of its auto settings. They don't really need to do anything except take their camera out and film. What I would try to do as a filmmaker is use maybe external apps and other equipment to have as much control over the shot as I can. So for a stabilizer, I just use the DJI OM5. I think there's an OM6 at the time of this recording. There's a link in the description if you want one for yourself. The idea is to not let access to equipment be what stops you. I see it all the time when aspiring filmmakers will use some unconventional method to make their film, from phones to webcams. So now the camera on your phone will be a major challenge. An even bigger challenge, in my opinion, will be the audio. Audio recorded on your phone will likely sound terrible. Here are a few options to either capture good audio or what you should do if you can't capture good audio. This first one is obvious. Try to film in quiet locations, and this is easier said than done. Even if the location in your film is supposed to be noisy in the story, film in a quiet location and then bring in other sounds during editing, which we will talk a bit about later. Second option, which requires a little bit of money, you can purchase an audio recorder like a Zoom H1 and maybe a basic microphone. I'll list a few options in the description. This at least gives you something that you can hide just outside a frame or hide behind certain props perhaps. The idea is to get your microphone as close to the actors as possible without seeing it in frame. Obviously this one is in frame, but this isn't a movie, so whatever. One thing that I use to make it easier to get new equipment is Camera Corps. I haven't checked to confirm which countries this type of service is available in. It's a long-term rental platform that also allows you to purchase the equipment whenever you want. And, you know, so like the longer you rent it, the lower the purchase price is and that kind of thing. It technically costs more money in the end, but using a service like this has allowed me to purchase most of the equipment that I own. Another option, which is more to do with the post-production stage, is using an AI software to fix your audio. You're probably seeing 100 different types of AI software lately, but the one that I use for this particular purpose is Descript. There'll be a link for that in the description as well. They have paid versions, but at the very least, you can use a trial month on one of these AI softwares. There are a lot of them out there, so find one that you can access. They don't always work, and other times they're also lifesavers, so you know, just try it and give it a go. Then we have lighting. So good lighting is important. You can have the best camera in the world, but if you don't know anything about lighting, it will still look terrible. If you have nothing but a phone, but you're an expert at lighting, then in some situations, people will be unable to tell whether you used a phone or a cinema camera. While there are a lot of expensive options out there that look great, there are also some handy tricks you can use to do a pretty good job for little or no money. One way is to use natural light. Natural light is typically light that comes from the sun. Certain times of day will give you different types of light and create a different look for your film. So golden hour is that small period of time when the sun is rising or setting. This light is typically the most flattering as it is softer on the skin and also gives that gorgeous orange glow. If you are inside, house lighting doesn't usually look very good, but there are some other ways you can add lighting elements that are easy and affordable. One of these is bounce lighting. Even better is if you have some sort of natural light coming in through a window perhaps, and you use something to then bounce the light onto your subject. I love bouncy light as it creates a light that isn't too harsh. Bouncy light can be done with nearly anything, so go and find a white piece of card. You could even just get some cardboard and paint it white. If your shot is close enough, you could even resort to using something like paper. Even a piece of paper can bring in just that little bit of light you need to enhance the shot. Alternatively, you can use other colors and bounce colored light onto the subject instead. You can even bring a large black card or sheet and create some negative fill. When you bring a black card or material to your subject's face, it will start to bring in a darker look, which if used right, can help sculpt the light on your actor. Lighting, especially if you're using makeshift lighting equipment, is just something that requires practice. Subscribe to our channel because putting in the time to learn your craft and practice is what will set you apart from the rest and teach you everything you need to know to succeed in the film industry. You now have a few ideas of how to handle camera, sound, and lighting. Next up, we'll talk about making props and set design. One of the great things about making films is that it's creative. So no matter what challenge you face, oftentimes using a little bit of creativity will help you find a solution. At the start of this video, I mentioned that it is wise to come up with ideas that you can accomplish with resources you have available. With that in mind, right now is probably the best time to make movies because with very little, you can still do quite a lot. As mentioned before, you see it all the time, like the group of Nigerian sci-fi filmmakers who worked with anything they had available, and with practice and creativity were able to create surprisingly high-quality films with seemingly advanced VFX, to the point where major industry players reached out to them and donated money and resources to help them create even better films. For example, one of my early student films required that I build a ninja dojo in my dad's backyard. So what I did was drive around and collect all the random bamboo fencing that people were throwing out, and I turned my dad's backyard into a ninja dojo. As this was an early student film, the film of course did not live up to any professional standards, but it taught me how to find resources for free to start building sets. To the point where recently I reached out to my community in hopes of collecting old electronics for our new sci-fi film. The community was not only happy to help, but they were excited to know that their old and unwanted devices were being used for a big fancy film production. Even if your film is small, to most people, being able to contribute to it can be an exciting time. Most of the electronics we collected weren't even broken, people just didn't want them anymore and they already had upgraded to a better version. I understood the fact that most people collect unwanted junk, so I decided I could use this to help get everything we needed to make our movie. And we did. We collected way more than I had originally expected. I don't know what your idea is, so I can't give specifics on how to do this, but the point is, look at your idea and brainstorm different methods you could use to make it happen. Maybe your story does have a Lamborghini in it, but you don't have access to one. So you use some kind of combination of stock footage and carefully planned shots to convince people that your actors are actually inside. You won't really know until you try it, so it's worth experimenting and learning from each experience. If I had not built that terrible looking ninja dojo in my early days, then I might not have considered reaching out to people now, more than 10 years later. And since then, my filmmaking skills have developed dramatically to the point where I can take a bunch of crap and craft a proper lighting plan to make it look cinematic. Most of what I've mentioned so far teaches you how to make a movie with little to no money, but one thing you will need is people. I know there are a lot of filmmakers who will make an entire short film where the entire cast and crew is just themselves, a one-person army doing camera, directing, acting, editing, everything, whatever. This can be good to do when you're starting out, so by all means you can give it a go, but what I also recommend doing is finding other people to work with. Even if I don't really have any money to pay anyone, it doesn't mean I'm not going to try to push forward with the project. While I always prefer to pay people, of course, or giving back to them in some way to say thank you, it's simply just not always possible, especially in an industry where funding is rather scarce. You're halfway through, so click this link for part 2 of this video where we'll talk in more depth of what I do to find people for my film and much more.